Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that still barely knows what it's doing. I am your host, Meagan Thompson-Mann, and this is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kirk Rafferty.
And tonight we have a guest. Oh my God, we got another one to fall for our bait. Tonight we have on Ann Wells, who is in my writing group. And tonight we are going to be talking about writing groups and critique partners. Yes, welcome, Ann.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So she doesn't know what she's in for. No, she does. She's listened to us before. So and she came on anyway. So we really appreciate that she's here. So tonight, this is episode 17. Oh my God. And our topic tonight is going to be writing groups and critique partners, the good, the bad, and the why did I agree to this? But we have had some different experiences, the three of us. I've had only good experiences. Kirk has had some interesting experiences.
Not so great experiences, yeah.
And Anne is contractually obligated to say that she is having a wonderful experience in my writing group, but she's also had some interesting experiences. So what is everybody up to with their writing these days?
I will go first. It is pretty much the same as last time, which is to say, not a lot going on.
Excellent.
I have since kind of scrapped the idea that I was working on before. I just couldn't make it gel. It just never felt right. I never felt enthusiastic about it. So I'm setting that aside. I might be able to harvest some ideas from it, but I'm setting it aside. And I am currently just kind of trying to come up with some ideas. I've got a few little niggles that I'm playing around with. Otherwise, I'm sort of lost out in the wilderness again right now. How about you?
It's interesting that you say that, because actually in the writing group today, we were talking about what happens when you are into a project and you're just not feeling it anymore. Like, what do you do? And do you walk away from it? Do you shelve it? Or do you try and push through? So it happens to everybody. I certainly have a number of things on the shelf right now. I am currently taking a little break. My mom is visiting from Connecticut. Mom, friend of the show. Yes, she is currently downstairs and enjoying a vodka tonic that I made for her as her darling daughter. And
you're so sweet.
I am very sweet. But I have not done any writing this week, but I have gotten my book out to my beta readers, and they are...
Congratulations.
I know. I'm actually giving Rylan, our former producer and big friend of the show, a copy tonight in EPUB as requested.
Fantastic.
Yes. So that's it. I am stoked to get back to book 2. I did read part of book 2 over the past couple of days to remind myself of who these people are, because I kind of forgot. And since I've been so deep into book 1, but that is where I am. Anne, tell us a little bit about what you write in general and what you're writing right now.
Okay. So I'm in the fantasy genre. And right now the book I'm working on, the working title is A Swan Dark. It's young adult fantasy. It does have some romance in it. So I feel like I can talk about romantasy a little bit. But I'm working on it. I'm right now in probably stage 7 plus of rewrites. So I'm hoping to finish it up before the end of the year and then send it in for a developmental edit. So that's where I'm currently at. And I just finished the big climatic fight scene, which was super fun to write and exciting to finish it as well.
I love reading your work, by the way. It's not a genre that I read a lot of, and I have been so enjoying getting to read. I think I've read 5 chapters now of your book, and it's fantastic. I really enjoy getting to read it. So, as we said earlier, today's focus is about writing groups and critique partners. We're going to talk a little bit about what they are, what they're not, how you can find them, and hopefully how you don't make everyone hate you, although you might hate everyone else. Maybe we should talk a little bit about definitions, about what a writing group is, what critique partners are.
Mm-hmm.
So writing groups are, they are what they say on the tin. So it's writers who regularly meet up, either virtually or in real life, and you're sharing work, you're giving feedback. It can be a support group. Mine is, there's 4 of us. We originally were 3, and you don't want to get them so big that they're unwieldy, but at the same time, 2 might be too small, I think, because you're
That's
only
a writing
getting one.
partner, right?
That's a writing partner. But they can be specific to one genre. They can be mixed genres. Mine is a mixed genre. And it is, for me at least, it's been a source of inspiration, feedback, critique. Just, I could not have gotten through an entire book without my writing group. They are fantastic. They also function as my critique partners as well. So I have a bit of crossover. This can happen. Small groups, 2 to 3. In my case, there's 4 of us. But it's really been me that has been using it as a critique partner group more than anybody else in the group so far. But I expect Anne will probably be using us as well as we go along. So you're giving critiques of each other's work. These tend to be deeper. They don't have to be, but they tend to be. And as I said, there can be crossovers with writing groups.
So how does that work with your group? So for example, groups that I've been in before, like one particular that I'm thinking of, we would email each other whatever we were working on, say like the week before we met. And the homework then was, of course, to read what had been emailed. And then you show up. And so this particular group, it was a physical group. So we all showed up in one place and we all had notes. So it's sort of like a writing workshop at a conference, right? But I think we met every 2 weeks or something. So is that how yours does? You work with that?
Ours is a little different. We end each session with talking about a prompt. We may come up with a writing prompt at the end of the session or in the week or so that follows.
Oh, okay.
And then we all write incorporating the prompt. Now, it actually is good for me sometimes to kind of spur me on. I'm always working on my book, but I'm always incorporating the prompt into what I'm writing anyway for the book. So it could be something as simple as a word, and sometimes it's a little bit more structured. Like, you know, we want you to hit these beats or tell us a story about X. And then we write it, we come back. So we are a virtual group. Anne and I are in California and Rebecca and Dora are over in the UK. So we meet about every 4 to 6 weeks, virtually about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we have feedback for each other. We usually some of us are a little later than others in circulating. So, you know, usually a day or two before Anne is very prompt, but a day or two before we will get all of the pieces together and, you know, we take notes. And then we talk about what we liked, what we thought was working. We ask questions. We ask a lot of questions about, did you mean to do X? and right. No, I didn't mean to do X. But yeah, and I would also say about half of these sessions, the first half is generally us just catching up on our lives and using it as an opportunity to socialize as much as it is to talk about our work.
Fun.
It's a lot of fun. It keeps us accountable, especially for Anne and I who are writing. We're both writing books. Dora and Rebecca are writing shorter pieces. So it makes us all write.
Now, Meagan, you're calling it women's fiction, right?
Upmarket fiction. Contemporary upmarket fiction.
There you go. And
yes.
and you're writing fantasy. What is that like? And I'll ask you first, Anne. So what is that like, reading outside your genre? Or are you really not kind of bounded by your genre? And I ask this because I've been in writing groups before, and this is my problem, is where I would get, a genre that I just wasn't that interested in. And I felt sort of, that I wasn't doing their work a service by my notes because it was too far out of what I normally read.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I can say I love reading Meagan's work, and it's not a genre I normally read. But usually if people are writing well and doing the basics, like interesting characters, they have a plot that's moving, it's easy to get into. So it's fun seeing the other genres. Now, if I were to, like a real editor trying to edit it, I would have to step away because I don't read that genre and I don't know what the readers would be looking for. But the basic stuff that you would expect in general from books or short stories, it's pretty easy to pick up on that in the other genres out there.
And do you feel like you get good feedback from people that are writing in other genres?
Yes. So it's different feedback. So on my end, when I've had people from other genres give feedback, they'll catch things I would never have thought of to catch, which is probably just beta readers in general or people critiquing. So I've gotten a lot of good feedback. The one thing is, though, when you do have a reader that's in your genre, they're like, oh, I want to read this. Like, they get so excited, and you're like, oh, you're in my genre. So I'm actually catering to you.
For sure.
So you get a different response when they're in your genre, but I still do get good feedback and good help and good ideas.
Yeah, and it's probably good to have like a fresh pair of eyes. They don't always read fantasy, so now they're reading fantasy. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it's been my introduction to reading fantasy, reading and stuff, but also Rebecca writes some fantasy stuff and sci-fi, and Dora writes kind of everything. She's an amazing poet, so I get to read a lot of poetry, and that's a completely different set of eyeballs that you're bringing. And for me, being in a mixed genre group means that I'm always seeing something new, and that I have to have a more open mind about what I'm reading, and not kind of be like, well, I only read this, and only serious writers write this. I mean, do you actually expect I would say anything like that? No.
You have to set your natural snobbiness aside, right?
Very hard. Very hard. Just comes to me naturally. But yeah, it's a very supportive group that we're in. And maybe I should talk a little bit about how we kind of came about. We came out of this Oxford University Extension program on fiction writing that I've talked about before. And that was an asynchronous online teaching environment where we posted chunks on a bulletin board, and then we critiqued each other's works. And it was meant to be supportive, much like we are a very supportive group. So although we were giving kind of constructive feedback when we thought things weren't working, it was very much like, do not be an asshole. And there really weren't any people who were assholes in that group. They were pretty good. But when we were done with it, a bunch of us kind of decided, like, we want to keep this conversation going. And originally there was another member, but she was based in Australia and she could not make it work at all.
Woof. Yeah, that's a hard combination.
It is really,
of time
really
zones
hard. To
make work. Yeah.
Very, very hard. So it's hard enough making it work with California and the UK, because there's most of the year it's 8 hours difference. So, we came out of that, and, we've been going now for over 4 years, and, we've gotten to know each other quite well. And then I met Anne in February at the San Diego, the Southern California Fiction Writers Conference. And
fantastic.
Yeah, we were talking about writing groups, and I said, oh, I'm in an awesome one. And she said, I cannot believe that there are any awesome ones. So I said, let me see if I can get you into mine. And yeah, of course, they were like, yes, please, more. Thank you. So
amazing.
We've had, I think you started in March or April with us. So it's been like over 6 months now. And yeah.
And it's been great.
What was your experience with writing groups before that? Were you in any before that?
Yes. When I moved to San Diego, I joined a Meetup writers group and was doing that for probably about 2 years. And that was through Meetup, and it would have maybe around 6 people. And it would occur, they had it going twice a week, but I would only go once a week at most because it was a lot of work.
Yeah, that's a lot.
God, yeah.
It was a lot. So you would get at least 5 other people's pieces of work, and the word limit was around 2,000 words. And I would sit and spend so much time going through their work, trying to figure out the best way to critique it without editing it or trying to change the way they're writing, which can be hard, right? When everybody has different writing styles.
For sure.
So it was a great group, and I learned a lot, but it did have downsides in that you get different people each week coming in. Some people were great, and then some people were not helpful at all. You got to meet a lot of people in it, so that was a lot of fun. Some of the people were not very nice with their reviews and would actually get angry when they were giving you your critique, which I thought was strange. Yeah.
Wow.
Emotions. So just the whole spectrum of the general public coming through there in writing. So it was very interesting, and I learned a lot, but it was also, it had some negatives that went with it as well.
And I've talked a little bit about my experiences with writing groups with Meagan, and I don't think, I'm trying to think, but I don't think I ever had anybody that was like outright mean with their feedback, but I did have, I think that I am writing group cursed because it just every group I've been in, I want to say 3 groups, and there was just always like, I never got positive vibes from these groups that I was in. And I remember the first group that I was in many years ago, I was actually writing a fantasy novel, and my opening chapter just did not scream fantasy. And it's that's a whole, it was a bad manuscript to begin with. But there were a couple of people in there that just let me know very vocally and very bluntly. And it was just as somebody who was just sort of starting to get their feet in the waters, it was very discouraging. Like there wasn't any encouraging advice. I don't think that's the norm. I hope that's not the norm. I think that I've just been very unlucky.
I've heard more horror stories than I've heard stories like mine, to be honest.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
It is. And, I've always wondered, like, what is it about writers groups that attract assholes? Is it, is it an opportunity to be in a situation where it is socially acceptable to criticize people in kind of open, blunt ways that perhaps that, maybe it's their kink. I don't know. I don't want to kink shame anybody, but at the same time, it's like, what do you do?
Kink shame, being rude in a book group. I will kink shame that. Yes.
That is a highly specific kink.
It really is.
Yeah. Woo. But it's, I don't know. It's like, there is a stereotype that exists. I mean, if you've ever seen, writing groups portrayed in TV or, in films, they tend to be, these characters of abusive relationships. And, there's got to be a reason why there's a stereotype. There must be a type of person who's like, this is where I'm needed. I am needed to tell people that they're trash.
Yes. And it's, at least I ran into, this syndrome. Everybody's taken like philosophy 101 in college, right? And that freshman urge to come out of philosophy 101, like the first 2 weeks of it. And all of a sudden, you know everything about philosophy. So they get Plato into every conversation, right? And and I get that sense with some people who are maybe newer-ish to writing, have been reading some books, have been watching some videos, and now they are going to get whatever advice that they have absorbed, they're going to get that.
I know what it is. They're going to say you can only have 2 adverbs in any chapter.
That's right. Yes, I see what you did there.
Yeah, yes. Sorry. Please continue.
So, I mean, that was pretty much it. I just think that, at least, again, my experience was it tended to be newer writers who had thoughts because they had read books, they had watched videos, and they were good. So whenever they caught in my manuscript or other people's manuscripts, whenever they caught a rules violation, man, it was the red pen all over it. Like you could just see how excited they were to have found this error. And then, they just didn't know how to vocalize it properly as encouragement, to be like advisory.
Did either of you come across any sort of competitiveness in these groups?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How did it manifest?
I think it just manifested in general attitudes that I am a more serious writer than you are. My work is more serious than yours is. Again, thinking back to that very first group, which was the worst one, is, I was writing fantasy and, other people were writing, thriller or whatever, just more, I guess, finger quotes, serious writing than mine was.
Yes, thrillers, well-known, very serious fiction.
May not have been thriller. I threw it out there. I can't remember what people. It was a long time ago. That I feel like they considered themselves more serious authors, and I had no idea what I was doing.
That's interesting. Interesting.
So I guess there are genre snobs and think their genres are more advanced or better than the others.
Absolutely. I mean, for instance, my genre is much better than Meagan's. No, I'm kidding.
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Do not give me that. Do not give me that.
No. I write about women and women problems. How serious can that be?
I am a historian.
That is correct. Of great import.
If you're writing about women's problems, you have like, I don't know, that just feels so important versus fantasy. You're just making up fantastical stuff.
I think we're
getting
all
to
have...
the ranking here in this little group, aren't we? Yes.
Preen. I think everybody has a little, if they're normal, that is a very elastic term, has some sense of inferiority about their genre.
For sure.
Okay, like, it's better than X, but it's not better than Y.
Yes.
And we're all kind of, as you say, kind of ranking ourselves, which is a load of, BS. They're all important, even, look, Chuck Tingle is a very important author, and he writes books like, Pounded in the Ass by my, typewriter. It's all very important. So
yes.
It's,
On sale now.
On sale now, yes. But it is, I have been in, the last time I was kind of in a group like that, I think was in high school, when I was editing the literary magazine, and I thought I was a very big and important writer back then. At the very developed age of 17, I was very important. And I wasn't a jerk in these meetings, but there were people on staff who were a little bit snobby about other people's writing. To be fair, the person who was worst about this was actually a really talented writer at the age of 17, and I can get it, like, why he had those feelings about himself, but at the same, also at the other same time, I give us all a lot of grace. We were idiots. We were all 17.
No shade to our 17-year-old listeners.
Now, if you're listening and you're 17, please get some sleep.
You are the exception.
You're the exception. So how did you know it was time to leave the groups that you did?
Easy answer. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't enjoying it. I had anxiety, every time I showed up with new words to share. I don't even think I made a conscious, I think probably for all of these groups, I never made an actual conscious decision. I just kind of stopped going. Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. It just kind of quit going. For me, it was a huge time sink. I was spending so much time trying to critique other people's work that I wasn't able to move forward with mine. Also, I can tell you a big red flag. And when you leave the writers group and you're like, I should never write again, and it takes you a month to recover and go back to writing.
Yes.
So people being overly harsh with their reviews and making you just feel like you committed, the ultimate sin with how bad your work is and should never write again.
I remember when you and I were talking that evening that I met you, and we were talking about the writing groups that you'd been in, and that you had felt like you didn't want to write anymore after being in some of them. And for me, that was so shocking. Like, that other people could be so rude about something that we have in common as writers. We're all following our own paths. We're all kind of doing the same thing. We should be supportive of each other, unless you are a garbage human being, in which case I am not supportive of you.
And I can say that, being in those writing groups, like, I've read some really bad stuff, and I'm sure everybody's been in it, or maybe not, but, we've all, if you've been to a conference or if you've a workshop or something, you've read something that is just, the craft is absolutely terrible, right? It's hard to get through and everything like that. And, one of the best ways to make that writer give up is just point out all of it, just really destroy them, right? And that's not the goal of a writing group. That's not the goal that writers should have towards other writers.
Yeah.
We want to lift up. We want to point out what's good, what needs work, make some recommendations, and don't be an asshole.
Yeah, well, that's good advice in general for a living. But I like to think that these are people who have put themselves into a situation where they're opening themselves up to feedback and know that they're trying to work. So these are exactly the people that we should be encouraging with good, actionable feedback that doesn't destroy them. They don't deserve to get kicked in the teeth. They deserve a hand up. So maybe we should talk a little bit more about the difference between critique partners and writing groups. I said that my group kind of functions as my critique partners. So I'll explain a little bit about that and what I've done. So I didn't even know I was doing it at first. It just happened so for the first couple of years I was in the writing group, I was writing short pieces mostly. And then I've mentioned before that I wrote one short piece, and then I realized that I was writing chapters. And then more often than not, I was using the prompts that we were given in the group to write my next chapter. So this meant that I was frequently writing things out of sequence. But I was also writing more chapters in between. Like, I write a chapter, I'm like, well, we're not meeting for another 3 weeks, so I'm going to write another chapter. So I was getting feedback on all of my chapters when we met. And it was because they were seeing the plot as it went along, and they were also asking me about, when there were holes, that because I hadn't, I was writing out of sequence, like what I thought was going to happen in between. And sometimes I would have an idea, and sometimes it was just me waving my hands like, I don't know, something, magic.
Things happen here. That's in my first drafts, I have little tags like that. And then magic happens.
The magic happens. So, have either of you had critique partners as opposed to being in writing groups?
I do have a critique partner. It is my daughter, Rylan,
yes.
Friend of the show.
Yes.
Yeah. It turns out she is a wonderful writer, and her and I swap manuscripts. We swap ideas. We're constantly texting back and forth. Just about, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Or, just like sharing ideas and stuff like that. It is really wonderful to not only have a great writing partner, but, it's my wonderful daughter. So yeah, I'm super pleased with my writing partner.
Awesome. How about you, Anne?
Amazing. For me, I did actually, one of the ladies from my writers group, we kind of left the writers group together and started critiquing each other's work.
Fantastic.
And that was good. And we were doing that for a while. And then I think the pandemic hit, that kind of took us out, and then too busy with life. So we haven't met for a long time, but it was really nice when we were able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the best case situation is, I think we all are in like the best case kind of situations, or we've been in them, where you feel supported and safe and you're able to make mistakes and not be trashed for,
right,
not being a wordsmith. So why don't we talk a little bit about like, how do you find writing groups? How do you find critique partners? I mentioned, mine came out of a writing course that I took, but there are so many other ways to do this. You can online, of course. I mean, please, it's the obvious place to start. Discord actually has a lot of writers groups. They can be harder to find if you don't know where to start. But if you look on Reddit, quite often you will find people posting about writers groups. One of the ones that I'm in, I don't use it as a writing group, but I certainly have taken part in the boards there, is We Write at Dawn. And that's a really interesting, very supportive, multi-genre group with well over 100 users in it. It's very, very, very active and very supportive, really nice people. And you can find sort of subgroups within that group on separate genres. You can use it to find critique partners. You can use it to find beta readers, which is a topic for another episode. And also just kind of just general writing, shooting the shit, and off-topic everything. If you'd like to be around writers, sometimes these Discord channels are fantastic places to just find your tribe. Facebook groups, although Facebook, Facebook is the horrible, evil stepmother that gave us Threads, and that's kind of everything you need to know about Facebook. So yes, there definitely are groups on there. Bluesky, I'm pretty active on Bluesky. I am thecrumpet.bsky.social if you are interested. And people talk all the time about trying to start writing groups or trying to locate critique partners. You just need to kind of get into the right channels in there. So using hashtags to look up things like a hashtag writing community, hashtag write sky, hashtag Book Sky, a little bit less, but Writing Community and Write Sky, if you search for those, you will find people who are trying to do the same sorts of things as you. Generally, these are incredibly supportive communities, quite active, as I just said. Kirk is also active in them as well. And there are other ways, like, hey, I want to be in front of people who are human beings and, see their eyeballs in person. So you could do things in real life, like Meetup. You could go to writers' conferences where you can, make sure that we actually are as sweet smelling as we say we are. And library groups, certainly I've seen things posted in the subreddit for Los Angeles where people were trying to start in real life writing groups as well. There's also local writers guilds. You could go to genre-specific groups like the Romance Writers Association, Science Fiction Writers Association. There's so many different ones. And these are such great ways to create writing communities of your own. Make your writer buddies. You could do something as weird as start a podcast with your writing buddy.
That's the secret objective of this one, is to eventually have a writers group. So Anne doesn't know it, but she's being recruited.
That's right.
Amber doesn't know it. She was being recruited.
That's right. We're a cult.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not just a podcast. It's a cult.
It's a cult.
Do you have Kool-Aid?
Yes. We also have, we can get some merch,
That's right.
Yeah. No hats, as we've discussed before. No hats. But, t-shirts, capes. We can do all sorts of things.
Can we do berets?
We can have berets. Those,
oh my God,
yes.
Berets, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Jaunty angles.
This is happening.
Yes. If you are looking for a group, you probably want to have a list of questions for yourself. Because you don't want to fall into a bad cult. You only want the good cults. What are you actually looking to do? Are you looking for feedback? Are you looking for support? Are you looking for for socializing? So kind of think about what you can actually commit to this group.
And that really is the bottom line of it all. It is work. It's a commitment. Is it a good investment? Is it paying off?
Oh yeah, no,
it's unfair.
Definitely.
Megan's sitting here.
No,
Meagan, log off for a minute. We're gonna dish.
No, it's been great. It's definitely worth it. And I think that's a big thing is Meagan's group is not time demanding. So we're not meeting every single week, which I wouldn't be able to do. Like we're every month to 2 months in that time, which is a lot easier if you have jobs and family.
For sure.
So the note I had down here in all caps is, are you miserable? That is a question you should be asking yourself. This should be fun. You should not be feeling anxious. You should be looking forward to these, not only to get feedback, but to give feedback as well. And that's certainly part of it. It's we talk all the time about the importance of community, and this is a way to build community. And if your community is shit, you can leave. As far as I know, there are no penal colonies that are writing communities yet, so you can always walk away unless they shackle you. So, and then that's probably an in real life meetup. So this is why you don't want to be around people. This is why online groups are better in my opinion.
Wow. That's a novel, isn't it? That's a thriller. That's the writing group.
The writing group.
Yeah. You show up and they shackle you and
Jesus.
Make you edit their manuscript.
It's a stream of consciousness, metafictional book. By a 17-year-old.
Are you kidding? I'd write that.
I thought you did write that. So let's do some hot goss.
Ready? Let's do it.
This week we're talking about BookTube, aka YouTube for books, and we are in particular talking about a BookTuber who's also on TikTok named Willow Talks. She went on and thought it was a super good idea to say that Romantasy readers are, well, let's put it politely, not serious readers, are in fact tools of the patriarchy because they're dumb. She actually called them dumb. Wow, number one. Romantasy is a genre. It is not an IQ test. And I can think of any number of very intelligent people I know who love Romantasy. Any number of very intelligent writers out there who write Romantasy, and to say that they're all dumb because, well, you don't like their genre or you don't like X book in their genre is A really good way to destroy your brand.
Yeah, and to caveat, she did walk it back.
She did.
Having said that, in my personal opinion, she walked it back not because it was a garbage opinion. She walked it back because the blowback was severe. It's good that she issued an apology. The apology felt slightly weaselly to me, but okay, let's take it at face value. It just felt more because of the blowback.
I'd seen a number of her videos before, and I actually quite liked them for the most part. She's a very strong feminist. She has great takes on fantasy, romantasy, kind of in general, which is a little why I was shocked. Although she definitely has mentioned before books that she thinks are more serious or, more artful in these genres and saying, this is good and that's bad. But her real problem with this particular book,
I think she said girls, right?
She said
girls
romantasy girlies. She said romantasy girlies. And
are like not the sharpest, or
they're not the
like
sharpest tools or something like that. And she
not the brightest sparks.
Not the brightest.
Yes, because I was so offended.
Yeah.
Not the brightest.
I mean, that's a pretty general take, not just on a specific title, but on a whole group of readers.
She also said that romantasy readers were tools of the patriarchy, and essentially that they were kind of sleepwalking into conservative voters' dream of a woman staying in the home, or that where a man is in control and a woman is subservient, and that this was kind of squicky and gross to her. And fair enough that you have that feeling about it, but you also have to understand that there's a fantasy element to this. This is escapism. Just because you read books or want to read books that have, big, strong men and tiny, girly women doesn't mean that that's what you want to live out in your real life. Sometimes it's a way of coping with exploring trauma or, working through trauma that people have had in abusive relationships, for example. Sometimes it's just fantasy. Like, what would it be like if I could just switch off for a few hours and not be a woman who has to take care of everything all the time?
And it's one thing to trash a book, right? You could even take a romantasy book. I can't think of one off the top of my head. It's not a genre I read often, but you could take that and say,
yeah, we could talk about we can talk about Alchemized, actually.
Sure, yeah, we talked about Alchemized.
Yeah, and there have been any number of hot takes including ours about Alchemized.
It's another thing to attack an entire genre and an entire readership of that genre. I think that's really the problem.
Without knowing who these people are, and just say, well, they're not very sharp, and it's beyond insulting. It's elitist. It's snobbish. It also makes me wonder, like, what is it that you're reading that's so special? And she does, to her credit, she does point out books that she thinks kind of deal with these issues in ways that she finds more palatable or more interesting or better executed. And that's fair enough. To say X book isn't as good as it could be, this is why it does, this is book Y and it does it a little bit better, and this is why. Fair enough. But to say you like book X, you're dumb. I have read some stupid shit. I am sitting here.
Not even book X. Genre X.
Genre X. I am sitting here looking at my signed copy of Jackie Collins' Poor Little Bitch Girl, which I enjoyed very much. Thank you. And I'm not a dum-dum. And I love these, what they used to call shopping and fucking books. I love them so much. I will always read them. And they're not very smart. They're often very funny, but they're not particularly deep, but I don't really care. So it doesn't say anything about me.
We all have our guilty pleasures.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't get the whole saying it's patriarchal in this romantasy, because I've read a few. It's not a genre I normally read in, but a couple of them, and the female characters are usually, they're like OP and super strong and tough, and they're standing up against the men. So I don't understand that comment.
That is a critique that I saw other people making. Like, oftentimes the female main characters in these books, they may be quite like petite. Like, this is, if there's a fantastic subreddit called Romantasy Circle Jerk that it's so funny. These are people who love Romantasy, and they are absolute super fans of Romantasy. And they just take down the books that they read. They're like, I know that this is hot, stinking trash, but I love it. And one of the critiques they make all the time is like, why are all of the women in these books like these tiny elfin creatures, but at the same time they're big and strong and they have the biggest sword ever and they can destroy all the men? So how is that, like, supporting patriarchy?
I will take a stab at this. Here's what I think. I can't be sure, but often in Romantasy, so yes, you have the strong female protagonist, but then you have like the really hunky dude who is dark and brooding, and he's, he is the light of her life. He saves her, right? And I think maybe that might be what she's going for. Again, I don't know that that's entirely genre worthy of blasting. I don't know that it's worth hitting every single reader in that genre, but that's my guess is that where she's going.
It's like, if you're going to do something like that, why not go after the collected works of Bill O'Reilly?
Well, I have.
I know you have. We've discussed them before. So, like, come on. I think Tucker Carlson wrote a book. So, why not go there? Why not go there? And it to me, it felt like a cheap shot. Again, we've talked before in other Hot Goss segments about women's books and how there's this whole idea that, women's topics are somehow not serious or not proper literature or proper books, and, only manly male topics are things that should be discussed. And this is obviously not a genre that is limited to a female readership at all. There are plenty of men who read Romantasy and are writing in Romantasy.
Sure.
But at the same time, it feels like it's safe to take cracks at Romantasy in a way that you don't see in fantasy getting attacked.
And I'll take a kind of a publisher's view of, I'm not a publisher, but I'll take a publisher's view.
You only play one on TV.
That's right. And that is, whatever you think of Romantasy, you can turn your nose up at it if you want. It is driving the publishing industry right now. Mm-hmm. So when you are attacking that genre and that readership, you are attacking a very large slice of the pie. If it weren't for Romantasy, the publishing landscape would look very different, and I believe a lot more dismal, right? So thank you, Romantasy authors. Thank you, Romantasy readers. And, if you want to turn your nose up at that, you can get stuffed.
Well said. I completely agree with you. It's because of them that we're going to be able to put our, beautiful Word Smythe books out into the world one of these days, because they are propping it up. They're the ones selling books. I mean, maybe 20 people will read our books. That's fine. That's okay. We're doing it on their backs. We're exploiting them, and that's the way it should be. I don't feel bad about it at all. This is capitalism. One other aspect about this that is kind of gross as well is that the creator, the BookTuber Willow Talks, who did this horrible take, is trans. And after this discussion started, there were people who were basically blasting her with these takes that they could look, if you didn't know that what you were looking at was anti-trans, you might not know. But
they didn't say the thing, but
they didn't say the thing, but they sometimes there were comments where the commenter was referring to her not as she or her, but as they and them. And it's like, no, Willow is a woman and these are her pronouns and she's very clear about them. And yet you won't afford that. Or really horrible garbage takes like, well, she spent the first part of her life as a man, so she doesn't understand what it's like to always have been a woman. and what a woman brings to the table when she's reading this. I'm like, no, this woman has always been a woman. She was a girl. This is ridiculous. So, take your turf garbage and throw it in the sinkhole. Bye. That please. Does not belong here. And, somebody can be trans and have a totally garbage take. Their transness has nothing to do with it.
Allow her garbage take.
That's
right. Right.
Garbage takes are for everyone.
Right? You shouldn't attack somebody's gender for the terrible things they
Exactly.
say, right?
Exactly.
You should
No.
be able to say terrible things.
Equal opportunity trash takes. That's Bad Lit Friends stands for equal opportunities in trash takes. So the main takeaway from today is, you're looking for feedback from the right people. And not all writing groups, not all critique partners are equal. Trash takes are equal, but not all writing groups and critique partners are equal. So if you're lucky enough to be like me and Anne, well done you. But you can always leave your terrible writing group. As of yet, you are not shackled to your writing group. Things could change. We never know. But finding your people is possible. It just might take some time. And you can always reach out to us, and Kirk and me, talk to us about what we've done, what we've thought worked and what we didn't. You can find us. Yeah, DM us. We're on all of the socials. We're at Bad Lit Friends everywhere. We're on Bluesky. We are on YouTube. We are on Threads. We are on Instagram, which is also kind of garbage. But you can also check out our website, badlitfriends.com. And we also would love to get more reviews. If you want to subscribe, share our episodes, we always love to see it. And we need a 4th review. You can join Angela. You can join Pam. You can join Laura. Be our 4th reviewer. At some point, we won't be calling out all the names because we're going to have so many. So get in early. And we will keep repeating your name, as we have been for these 3 wonderful women. And
this is like a PBS drive.
It is. We will have tote bags. Tote bags, berets, capes. It's all going to happen. And I just want to say thank you again to Anne for joining us tonight and being outside of her comfort zone and coming into this very weird space with us. It was really great having you here.
Thank you so much.
Please come back.
Yes, I'm in the cult, so I'll be there.
Yes!
Fantastic.
One of us. So until next time, we will see you then.
Bye.